The American Council of the Blind is a proud supporter of this program, an organization of blind and sighted people who work to increase the independence, security, equality of opportunity, and quality of life for all blind and visually impaired people. The American Council of the Blind, on the web at acb.org. Almost 50 years ago, a pregnant African-American woman and her Argentine husband arrived at a rural New Mexico hospital for the birth of their twins. Because Raul Midon and his twin brother were premature, they had to spend time in an incubator. But without proper eye protection, they both became blind. Raul was introduced to music at a young age, first given drums, then a guitar. You can say he took to it and has put out many albums. His latest is called Don't Hesitate. Raul Midon joins me in the studio to talk and perform. Raul, welcome.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you.
I want to get straight into your music. So let's talk about your first song, Set It Up For Us, and then we'll play it.
Well, this song is representative of a lot of things that I do. First of all, it's musically speaking, it's a fusion of kind of South American music. Actually, it's based on a rhythm called carnavalito, which is an Argentine rhythm, and so it has that aspect. And then the lyric is actually about an incident that happened a few years ago at the border, I believe, in San Diego. They had caught a person who was an illegal, who was here without papers, and they decided to just take him back instead of having him go through for some reason. I don't know why. And anyway, he was beaten at the border, I think on the bridge, in total plain view. It would have been covered up except for the fact that there were people with cell phones videotaping. We hear news every day, but for some reason, the sound of that just haunted me, and I had to write a song about it. So the song is called Libertad, which means freedom in Spanish. And it's kind of from, the immigrant's point of view. What would it be like to come here? What would you expect? And then what would you find? And people come here because of the freedom people expect, the ability to create a better life for themselves. So that's kind of what the song's about.
And this individual was killed?
Was killed. I think he didn't die right on the spot, but he died from all the tasing and
his injuries.
Yeah. When you hear somebody getting killed in a movie, it's a movie, But there's something about hearing that, a person begging for their life for real that really haunted me. It was one of those things. I don't know, timing, whatever. I had to write this song. It wasn't like I chose to write it. It was one of those things like, this is not going to leave me alone until I write it.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Crossing over the borderline, mesmerized by freedom, hypnotized by the city lights. You're reaching out to meet them, tempted away from the ones you love, into the land of plenty, all alone in a crowded place at the age of 1 and 20. Libertad, libertad, that's what they told me. Libertad, libertad, nobody owns me. Libertad, libertad, moving toward my destiny. Libertad, libertad. Work all hours of the day and night, making barely enough to survive. Hidden in the shadows from your fellow men, well, they don't even know you're alive. A cog in a mechanized dream machine, but none of the dreams are your own. Locked outside in the in-between and silently longing for home. told me. Libertad, libertad, nobody owns me. Libertad, libertad, moving toward my destiny. Libertad, libertad. Crossing over the borderline, La Migra has found you at last. No final goodbyes for your family, for soon all signs of life would be past. They beat you and cuffed you to calm you down. They beat you until you were dead. 20 or more to just one man, and these are the last words you said. Ayúdame, por favor. Ayúdame, por favor. Me están matando. Me están matando, me están matando, ya se acabó. Libertad, libertad, that's what they told me. Libertad, libertad, nobody owns me. Libertad, libertad, moving toward my destiny. Libertad, libertad.
Raul Midon, he's in the studio with me. He's a singer, songwriter, guitarist. He was singing Libertad from his album called Don't Hesitate. Raul, at the very end of that song, it was Spanish. Tell us what you were saying.
When Anastasio Rojas, which is the name of this person that this is based on, was saying ayúdame, which is help me, please. He was saying help me to anybody that would listen. So that's what that whole loud, high section of the song is.
So let's talk a little bit about your early life. Can you tell us about the circumstances under which you and your twin brother became blind?
Well, I mean, you pretty much explained it. We were premature. We were born premature, and we were put in an incubator and became blind. My brother, we had some operations. There was some pioneering surgery that was going on in the early 70s at Stanford, which was about laser surgery. So we both had operations to try to repair the retina, which the retina gets damaged by over-oxygenization. And the surgery was somewhat successful with my brother. He ended up losing his sight later, but at least had some vision for a while, but was not successful with me. So,
how long did he have vision?
Till he was 15. We had the surgery. I think we were about 3 or something.
Raul, how do you think being blind has affected your music?
Well, I don't know for sure because obviously not sure what I would have done if I could see. I'm pretty sure that I would have been into music. I think blindness focuses the mind, if I could say it that way. A lot of people end up doing something else, and then they end up doing that other thing. And since I didn't have that choice, I can't wait tables, temporarily while I try to get enough gigs to make a living, So it really focuses the mind, at least it did for me, that this is what I want to do, and, I'm going to be as good at it as possible so that I have a chance to do it full time, because what else am I going to do, kind of thing.
When were you able to say, okay, I can make a living out of this, I can support a family with music?
Well, I guess it happened fairly slowly for me. I mean, I went to college. I went to the University of Miami. I did not go to school and play gigs at the same time. I couldn't do it. I mean, for me, it was all I could do to keep up and do well in college. So I didn't really start to play until I got out of college. It was a slow process. I started doing gigs in bars and restaurants like everybody else. I didn't get on American Idol or anything like that. Didn't exist back then. Not that I would have anyway, but
you had to do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, I played in countless bars and clubs and restaurants, and then I started to get work as a what they call a session musician, studio musician. So for about 10 years, I actually worked as a background singer, which was a lot better gig than playing in a bar, because you know you get paid a lot more and you're in a nice controlled environment and you're singing on all kinds of people's records, you know.
Raul Midon is in the studio with me. He's a singer, songwriter, guitarist. His album is called Don't Hesitate. Raul, what would you say is the overarching theme of your music?
I think it has been freedom, the joy of being alive. I think it's changing a little bit now. I think
as you get older, you mean?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even this song, even though it's about freedom, it represents. It's a song that is not about me at all. Which I think most songwriters, when you start out, you know, it's sensitive songs to, you know, try to get the girl, or try to, you know, songs about being in love and stuff like that, you know. So I think as you do it more, you have to find other things to write about, you know.
Tell us a little bit about the technology that you use to mix your own music, to engineer your own albums. How do you do that?
Because of the advent of computers and technology, it has enabled me as a blind person to, on a professional level, produce and record my own music. You have a program that is designed to do that, programs that anyone can buy that are designed to enable you to record music. They're what they call digital audio workstations. Of course, you have to use a mouse and you have to look at a screen. So when you can't do that, there is a number of things that go into making it possible. One of them is the technology called screen reading. And I use a pretty popular program called JAWS, which actually stands for Job Access with Speech. And what that does, you know, fundamentally, is it reads the screen and it talks the screen back to you with a speech synthesizer. And then you have another added element, which is that you take normally the functions that you would use a mouse for, and you have to use a keyboard. So you create a script, what they call a script, in JAWS to operate so that, for instance, with audio levels, you create a key combination. So Control F2 twice will configure the display so that the screen reader will read your audio levels. Because there's just tons of stuff up there. There's tons of information. So that's essentially how it works. And that's just one tiny little thing that you can do, obviously.
Raul Midon is in the studio with me. He's a singer, songwriter, guitarist. We're talking about his album, Don't Hesitate. Raul, in your live performances, you sometimes do a horn sound with your mouth. How do you do that, and why do you do that?
I started doing it because I've always been interested in improvisation. Jazz improvisation particularly. And so I just started doing it because I was transcribing, which means I was actually learning solos. So I would put Miles Davis on and I would learn his solo note for note as a way to sort of learn, you know, what they're doing, or Clifford Brown or John Coltrane or Louis Armstrong or whoever. So then I started to sort of do this as a way of also having another instrument that I had access to. So so that, and of course I got into like figuring out all the articulations and things that horn players actually do. So it's not just a gimmick, it's not just a thing like the police academy,
Right,
so.
it totally sounds like a horn.
Right.
Speaking of live performances, Raul, how do you, are you able to sense the audience's mood given that you can't see them?
I think so. I mean, I think, every audience has a different energy. And I am very organized. I like to have a set list before I start playing, but I also can change that. I do an exercise. It's sort of a mental exercise of memorizing set lists, because, of course, most people can have it down on the floor and they can look at it and say, okay, that's the next song. And I use a memory trick where I take the first letter of the title of the song and I create sentences from those. And that makes me able to memorize the song. It's kind of a strange thing, but it really makes it possible for me to memorize, 16-set song list or something.
We're discussing the album called Don't Hesitate. Raul Midon is a singer, songwriter, and guitarist. He's in the studio with me. Raul, what are you most proud of in this album?
Well, I'm most proud of that I did it myself, that I actually followed it through. I look back at my journal, and at the beginning of 2014, I said, I'm going to make an album and I'm going to have it mixed and mastered, and I did it, And I'm also proud of the fact that I just used what I had, I'm proud of the fact that I was able to call people that I've worked with, wonderful people, and they all said yes to working on the album. I wrote a song with Bill Withers. I wrote a song for Liz Wright and I to sing. I had Marcus Miller play on something, a song with Richard Bona. Diane Reeves sang a song with me on the album. So I'm proud that, these are all things that if you're an artist, you don't even think about. The producer does all these things. The producer calls the people, they get the musicians together, they do this, they do that. All of that I had to do. And write the songs, and play the songs, and record the songs.
Let me ask you about one of your songs. It's called God's Dream.
Mm-hmm.
What is that about?
Well, that is the seed of that came from a play that I read in high school that made a big impression on me by Archibald MacLeish called J.B., which is a kind of a reimagining of the book of Job in the Bible, where in essence God makes a bet with the devil. Hey, I bet that this guy is faithful to you, but I bet if you took away he's really fortunate, he has all these sheep and all this stuff. What happens if you take it all away? Is he still faithful to you? So essentially, it's a takeoff on that. It's about what it would be like to be all-powerful, all-knowing. It's sort of like, yeah, but then what's interesting? What do you do? So it's sort of a takeoff on that.
Raul Midon is in the studio with me. He's a singer, songwriter, guitarist. His latest album is called Don't Hesitate. Raul, what do you say to kids that might be visually impaired or blind?
First of all, don't let anybody tell you can't do something. And second of all, I think it's really important to focus and find something to do. Of course, it's easy for me to say I was given a gift, of talent. I think it's incredibly difficult for a disabled person, even today with all of I don't know what the unemployment rate is, but it's still really high among blind people. I'm really a stickler for saying education is important. It equals the playing field. Technology is important. It equals the playing field. So it's really important to learn how to use a computer. It's really important to be educated, to do well in school, because you can get a job and you can contribute to society that way. For me, I can say anyway that was important.
Well, Raul, let's go ahead and do our last song, or your last song. Set it up for us and tell us what you're going to sing.
So this is a kind of a continuation of what I said about different kind of songs. So this is sort of a not anti-love song, but quasi, I guess. It's called "Was It Ever Really Love," and it's about what happens when you meet, when a couple meets and they sort of fall into this haze. And part of that is because they are, they find they have things in common, the things that happen when you meet and you fall in love with somebody. And then there's this thing that happens sometimes where you create a picture in your mind of what this person is and what this person is going to do for you and how they're going to fulfill your dreams. And it has nothing to do with who they actually are.
With reality.
And so you end up falling in love with this picture and not really with the person.
Okay, let's hear it.
Was it ever really love? Here we go.
We've been growing further apart lately. I don't even know who you are, baby. If we could only turn back the time, maybe we could hold the feeling inside. When we were light as a feather, you and me together in another world. When we were like milk and honey, everything was sunny, just boy and girl. Where did the feeling go? I don't know. Was it ever really love? Was it ever really love? Was it love? Was it ever really love? I remember holding your hand for the first time and how you made me feel like a man, so fine. If only we could figure out why love dies, or maybe we could keep it alive. When we were light as a feather, you and me together in another world. When we were like milk and honey, everything was sunny, just boy and girl. Where did the feeling go? I don't know. Was it ever really love? Was it ever really love? Was it love? Was it ever really love? I've been light years away from where you are, and I would ask you to stay, but I know that it's gone too far, 'cause I never knew you. Been looking through you at a picture in my mind. Was it ever really love? Was it love? Or was it ever really love? It was never really love, baby. Felt so much like love in the beginning when we were spinning
Raul Midon singing Was It Ever Really Love from his album called Don't Hesitate. He's a singer-songwriter and guitarist. Raul, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
The American Council of the Blind is a proud supporter of this program, an organization of blind and sighted people who work to increase the independence, security, equality of opportunity, and quality of life for all blind and visually impaired people. The American Council of the Blind, on the web at acb.org.